There's one shot in PGA Tour 2K25 that is completely unaffected by the wind. It doesn't matter if it's 5 miles an hour, it doesn't matter if it's 10, 20 miles an hour. It doesn't matter if you're going into or downwind. There is one shot that is completely unaffected by the wind, and it will probably be your go-to shot. We're going to cover that. It's finally the wind video. A lot of people have been waiting for this one. I do it in 2K21 when I first started, got it a little bit better in 2K23, and now I've tested hundreds and hundreds of shots to get you everything you need to know about wind. Hitting into the wind, hitting downwind, crosswinds, everything you need to know is in this video here. And the only thing I ask in return, a little like, a little subscribe. Pass this video around to the people who need to know it so that way you can hit closer to greens. Tomorrow's video, we're going to combine the elevation video that we did and this video to show you how you can hit even closer and improve your game. So let's dive right on in. So a great place to start, you're going to see here that I have designed this little course. And if you haven't seen that, go check out my elevation video, where you can see how I designed elevation, as well as I created a video just so you can create this plot of land and you can make little training centers for yourself if you don't really believe my numbers and you want to test it out yourself. Let me give you just the lay of the land on how this works. I have distances from all over. I'm going to cover pitch shots. I'm going to cover full shots. We're going to talk about it all. But I have one flag in the middle of it all. All of these blue signs are 5 yards left and right, so we can determine left and right bias when it comes to crosswinds. And then I have markers every 5 yards short of this flag and long of this flag there. So you can see every 5 yards. Now, I just use those as reference points because sometimes people's eyes can't track the numbers as they go. So, I just gave you guys visual references as well, so you can quickly identify those. The first realization we're going to talk about is into the wind. Into the wind was a change. In PGA Tour 2K23, whenever I was hitting into wind, it was a 1-for-1 exchange, except when you got to above 15 miles per hour. So what does that actually mean? In 2K23, at the top, it says 5 miles per hour. If this shot, which the flag is 160 yards away, if I was hitting into a 5 mile an hour wind like I am currently doing, I would have to hit 165 yards to get to the flag. However, what I found in PGA Tour 2K25, and it's probably because of the new real ball physics that they've added to this game, it's changed the numbers. When it comes to hitting into the wind, you have to add an additional half, so it's 1.5 yards per 1 mile per hour. So for example, if I hit this 160 yard shot, it's not going to go 155, it's going to go 152. And everything is on perfect swing to eliminate all rhythm, transition, all of that items. So you can see I've also straightened the shot out because I do not want any draw or fade. But a little side note, I found it doesn't matter if you draw the ball or fade the ball. It doesn't matter. The ball goes the same distance either way. So here, I'll hit a little practice one here for you just so you guys can visually see it. 100% perfect transition, the 101%, so it might go 153. But on the bottom right, you can see it hit 152 on the dot. So it is no longer a 1-for-1 exchange how it used to be. So if I actually want to carry this flag, and we're going to talk about all different distances as well, don't worry. Don't worry, this isn't just 160 yards, we're going to cover it all. So if I have 5 miles per hour into the wind, I need to add 5 yards, and then I need to add another 2. So I need to hit 167, it's actually 167 and a half would be the math calculation here. Now that the wind's gone to 6 miles an hour, we're going to hit 168. So I hit the 168 yard shot here. We'll straighten it out so we're hitting a normal shot. Hit a perfect. And you can see the ball will land pin high. It's different. It's different than it was in 2K23. Now, what I saw was a consistent value throughout all distances when it came to hitting into the wind. It didn't matter if I went all the way back here or we'll give this example, right? So this 100, I'm going to predict exactly what number it's going to populate because I've already tested this. So 6 miles an hour, 194. It's actually not going to go 194. It's going to go 186. So that would be minusing 6 yards because we're going into the wind. So 188. And then it's going to be another half. So it dropped to 5 miles an hour now. So an extra 2.5. So divide that number by half. So -5, which is what? 189. Divide the 5 in half, which is another 2.5. So it gets you about 186, 187. Hit this shot straight up. Perfect transition. And you're going to see in the bottom right where it says distance, that little meter's calculating out there, 186. It paused at 186 because that is where the land point actually is. So the calculations are 1.5 per 1 mile per hour. Now you're probably asking, what about if it's 20 miles per hour? No difference. Absolutely no difference. It doesn't matter if it was 20 miles per hour or 5 miles per hour. It was always 1.5 miles per 1.5 calculation per mile per hour. So 1.5 yards per mile per hour. There is a one small exception to this. Anything inside 100 yards. Anything inside 100 yards went about it was 1.16 was the actual calculation. So you can pretty much play anything inside 100 yards as a 1-for-1 when it comes to hitting into the actual wind. Make sure I got the right hole here. So when it comes down to this 100-yard shot, right? So 100-yard shot, 5 mile per hour wind. This 100-yard shot is going to land at 90. It's going to land at 94. So that would be a little bit less than 1-for-1. 94. So there you go. So anything inside 100, you can play 1-for-1 when it comes to, mile per hour wind. In the end of this video, I'll give you some tips on how to play around when it comes down to the wind. Now I'm just going to keep on using this 160-yard shot because it doesn't matter if you're hitting from 160 yards or if you're hitting from, somewhere further back. So I'm just going to use this 160-yard shot. All right, now we are at 160 yards and we're going downwind. So how does this change things, right? So when you're going downwind, the wind is helping you. So the ball is going to carry further. Now you're like, how much do I have to play? Is it 1-for-1? Is it not 1-for-1? Is it 1.5 per mile per hour? No, it's actually different. So when you're going into the wind, it's 1.5 yards per mile per hour. But when you are going downwind, it's actually less than 1 mile per hour. It's 0.79 was the final calculations that I got. So if you have 6 miles per hour right here, this shot will actually go 165 yards. So if there's a 165 mark here, right? It's not 1-for-1. It's a little bit less than 1-for-1. Like I said, it doesn't matter if you draw the ball. It doesn't matter if you fade the ball. It's all the same numbers. 165. You saw right there, 165. That number was consistent across all yardages. All yardages when it comes to downwind was a little less than 1 per. So what I would do in those situations when you are hitting downwind, take whatever the mile per hour is, minus it from that number. So we'll give you an example here. We'll rewind the shot. So if I wanted to hit that flag, I would take the 6 miles per hour. I would minus the 6. So we're at 154. And then we'd add one more. So I need to hit a 155-yard shot. So you hit, if I'm carrying the ball to the flag, and we're just talking about carry. I'm not talking about rolling out. I'm not talking about any of that right now. That'll be another video down the road. Perfect transition. And this should land just about pin high. You can see right there, boom, pin high. So when it comes to into the wind, it's 1.5 per mile per hour. When it goes downwind, it's a little less than 1-for-1 exchange. So it's a little bit less. I'll have calculations obviously up on the top of this video. So you're probably like, what about the pitch shot? Is the pitch shot a 1-for-1 exchange? Well, you got to understand what the pitch shot does, right? So the fuller the shot, the higher you're hitting it in the air, the more the wind is going to affect it. The lower you're hitting the shot, the less the wind has the ability to affect it. So the ball will go different distances. So we're going to talk about that in two different sides here. So let's first talk about it in like short game side. When it comes down to the pitch shot, right? So the pitch shot in itself right now is 55 yards away. When it came to the pitch shot, because it is a much lower trajectory, I only ever saw, it didn't matter if it was 5 miles an hour or 20 miles an hour, I only ever saw it go 1 or 2 yard difference. So for instance, this is a 55-yard shot. This is 6 mile per hour wind. It doesn't matter if it's 6 miles per hour. It only goes an additional yard or 2 when it comes down to the carry. Obviously, the higher it went, the more likely it went to like the 2 to 3. The lower it is. So this should be about a 56-yard carry here when we hit this one. All right. 100% perfect. You're going to see just about 156 yards there. Hit 56, paused, 57. So when it came down to into the wind and not into the wind, the pitch shot was only 1 to 2 yard difference, no matter what the wind was, because it does not get hit high enough for it actually to affect anything. Now let's talk about a shot that is completely, it did not matter. I was shocked. And I understand why, because like the spinner shot, and you're maxed at, for the spinner shot, you can only go 50 yards. But if you can drive all the way to the green, and then you can hit this spinner shot, and it has no effect to the wind. This spinner shot, and I know it's a low shot, right? So like if I hit this shot here, like you can tell it's pretty low, right? It's a pretty low shot. The spinner shot has zero effect from the wind. Zero effect. It doesn't matter if it is downwind. It doesn't matter if it's 20 miles an hour. It doesn't matter if it's 5 miles an hour. It doesn't matter any of the situation. The spinner shot is completely unaffected by all winds. And I don't know if this is an error on the game or if it's purely just because the ball flight is so low that the wind is not down at that level. So that is going to be a go-to shot, right? So 50 yards, doesn't matter. We're at 5 miles an hour here. I can jack this up to 20 miles an hour, and it's still going to carry 50 yards if you hit your transition spot. Hit my transition spot, you can see 50 yards on the number. Every single time I hit the spinner shot, no matter what the situation was, it goes the exact carry distance that the number says. So that is a little tip for you guys on why I keep on preaching that the spinner shot is a must-have. It's a must-have shot for so many people and everybody. It should be a must-have shot. The wind literally doesn't affect it. If you get inside 50 yards, you can use it at different lengths. It does not affect it. It does not affect it. Let me give you another tip. Now that you know the tip about the spinner, let me give you another tip here when it comes to fighting the wind and managing, right? So for example, I talked about trajectory of ball flight. If you are hitting this 160-yard shot fully with the 9-iron, the ball is going to go up and up and up, and the wind is going to massively affect it. But if you club up, what that does is it's going to drop the launch angle. So the ball is going to fly flatter, it's going to fly lower, it's not going to be as affected by the wind. And what I found is every single time that you clubbed up, it dropped the wind percentage, the mile per hour, by a quarter. So for example, if I wanted to cut this wind in half, I wanted to turn this wind from a 5 mile per hour or 11 mile per hour wind, and I wanted to turn it into a 5 mile per hour wind, I could club up twice. So I could take this 9-iron, I could club up to a 7-iron, walk it back all the way down to 160 yards, and now this wind is only 5 miles per hour. So it's going to be a lot less. It's not going to affect the ball as much. And if I want to hit this flag, I only need to go an extra 6 yards. All right, so I can hit this shot here now. It's going to be a partial swing. It's going to be, you got to have to be paying attention to a smaller swing. The ball's going to roll out more, but you can manipulate it by lowering it down there. So you're going to see now, obviously the wind's pulling it a little bit. but we are in a we're much closer. The wind affected it a lot less. I'm hitting it a lot closer. This is going to be the equivalent of the knockdown shot. You're just doing it with the approach shot. Now, I will in another video talk about the knockdown shot and how much and whether or not it's worthwhile. But for all the people who don't have the skill points right now to do a knockdown shot, I just showed you how you can do the knockdown shot without even equipping the knockdown shot. And look how closely you can get to these flags. That's what it's all about, giving you tips in order to do it. Now, lastly, let's talk about crosswinds. When it comes down to crosswinds, you need to know, is your shot shape a draw or is it a fade, right? And if you don't know what that is, a draw starts to the right and fade and comes back to the left. You see the ball started out to the right. And so whatever you pre-selected is going to massively affect your shot shaping when it comes down to crosswinds. Now let me explain why. So I'm a draw hitter right now. So if I hit this draw, the wind is going to help. My ball naturally is turning to the left. This wind is pulling to the left as well. The numbers for crosswind are 1-for-1 exchange. Like I said, these signs are 5 yards across. So an 11-mile-per-hour wind is going to move the ball 11 yards left. And you can use these little boxes as well. Each one of these boxes, if you're playing like on a legend and you don't have the ability to like look at markers, you can use these boxes. You can count 11 boxes over. For example, I obviously know that this is 11 boxes over right here because I have like my thing set. But if I aim right here, it should land just about pin high because I counted a 1-for-1 exchange. And you can see right at the flag, we might hit the flag, a 1-for-1 exchange when it comes to crosswind. So you can count 11 boxes over and that will tell you exactly where to hit the ball when it comes down to crosswinds. Now, when it comes down to fade hitters, people who have pre-selected the fade, or maybe I'm hitting into a crosswind. An example of a crosswind here. An example of a crosswind is the wind going the opposite direction. So I'm not going to do the whole fade draw situation. Like I'm not going to equip my guy to a fade, but I'm just going to use this example because it applies the same exact way. So for in this situation, the 11 miles per hour is going towards the right, which means my ball is going to draw into a wind and they're going to collide against each other. The wind is going to want to push my ball this way. My ball is going to want to draw the ball into it. So it's going to be held up by the wind. So it is not a 1-for-1 exchange when you're going opposite of your preference shot type. It is 1-for-1 plus 2 to 3 yards. So for instance, if I wanted, why is that? Because you can see the start line. When I hit a draw, the start line of the ball will start out to the right. And then the wind holds it up. So you see how it started out to the right and then the wind holds it up a little bit. And then it finishes out to the right. So you need to account when you're hitting those against your shot type, you need to account for an additional 2 to 3 yards per. So if I have an 11-mile-per-hour wind, I count over 11 boxes. This is not going to hit the flag. I need to go another 2 boxes over to account for my shot shape. It's going to hold the ball up, and then it's going to bring it on back. And then you can see here, we are right there. So I could have gone maybe back 1. So maybe it was just an extra box in that situation when it came to the 11-mile-per-hour wind. But that's pretty close to accurate for what we're looking for. So you need to account when it comes to crosswinds, what is the shot shape you are hitting? And is the wind helping or going against that shot shape? It is very important. And you need to account for it when you are trying to hit as close as possible. So that is all the numbers. And like I said, when it came to downwind and into the wind, shot shape had no effect on it. When it comes to crosswind, shot shape has a massive effect on it. Remember, if you're going into the wind, it's 1.5. If you're going downwind, it's less than 1. Very slightly less than 1. And remember, the spinner shot is completely unaffected by all wind. Completely unaffected by all wind. That was a lot of data. That was a lot of information. But you know what? I hope you got smarter today. I hope this is going to help you all out. and I hope you're going to be making a lot more birdies. Tomorrow, I'm going to show you how to manage crosswinds, manage it all, and we're going to run through some actual tests, and we're going to figure it all out together. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.